FNAF is a heavy series of games, all based in real-time reactions. With the complicated variations that you could end up having to see, especially in the later games, we wanted to go over some of the worst mistakes you could make across all the various games, especially with one of our main editors having recently started playing. Tessa, this video is for you, so take notes. The worst mistakes are what we're exploring today. Greetings gamers and welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I'm Connor Monroe and this is the top 10 worst FNAF mistakes you could ever make. Let's do it. And at 10, forgetting Foxy. I'm pretty sure the Foxy mechanic was added to help prevent the player from just keeping their screen down the whole night, since you can't really be jump scared if you don't bring up the tablet with the cameras unless you're looking at the wrong side of the office. So Foxy is a way to ensure that you have to look at the cameras to hold him back, otherwise it's guaranteed that you're going to be jump scared. However, forgetting about Foxy and not checking Pirate's Cove is a horrible idea, even if unintentional. My personal strategy is to put the camera on Pirate's Cove whenever I'm closing the tablet, just to ensure that the next time I open it, Foxy gets his dose of eyes on him. So just like Peanut, you know, the SCP, he will stay in place. And that just makes sure that I don't forget about him, because my reaction time is not fast enough to stop him from getting into the office. And at 9, music box. The music box is in essence FNAF 2's equivalent to Foxy, having to keep the music box wound on a specific camera to ensure the puppet doesn't do that really creepy walk thing to jump at your face. The puppet also isn't fooled by a mask, making me think that it would instead get launched at you in the original FNAF 2, but who knows. The VR version of FNAF 2 though is much easier, with you just needing to hold down the button like Eddie VR does when he played through the game. He just held it down and used his other hand. But either way, forgetting to wind the music box is a big mistake. In FNAF 1 all you need to do was look at Foxy, but in FNAF 2 you have to go to the camera and then intentionally wind it, and it's certainly something else. It's another layer that you need to be aware of. At least you get a little warning when the music box is running low though. I think that this makes the strategy of leaving the camera on the prize counter when you close it a good idea as well, since at that point even if it's really close you don't need to spend time trying to freak out and like look for the actual camera before you get sprung. It's just up there so you can just rewind it real quick. And at 8, speedrunning. Trying to speedrun something like FNAF is actually impossible, with each individual night having a set amount of time that you need to get through to actually survive. Around 42 seconds per hour if memory serves. However, there are certain aspects of the game that you can try and speedrun, particularly in FNAF VR and the additions like the Curse of Dreadbear Halloween DLC. Games like The Hallway, Build a Dreadbear, Corn Maze, and a couple others can actually be speedrun in a sense, since these aren't reliant on surviving until 6 AM. These are reliant on completing a set of tasks, like collecting a key and leaving a maze, or completing a brain for an animatronic. These kinds of things can be speedrun, however it's still not a good idea. Trying to speedrun something like the Corn Maze will absolutely result in a failure or a jump scare, since Foxy always knows where you are, and the only way to actually avoid him is to hide behind cardboard cutouts. But these cutouts are only in specific places, meaning you need to camp one and then wait for him to see you in order to be the most effective. But ultimately it's just a bad idea and you should avoid it. And at 7, timeline. Trying to think about a FNAF timeline is probably one of the worst mistakes or decisions that you can ever make. The FNAF timeline is not for the faint of heart, and honestly, if it wasn't my job at this point to think about it, I wouldn't even have touched the damn thing. Before we started making FNAF videos, do you think I was just sitting at home thinking about the timeline? No, I just trusted what MapPad said. And honestly, that's what I'm sure a lot of you do as well. There are some things in his FNAF theories that I would question, but since it wasn't my job to care, I really didn't. And it didn't make my life any worse, so trust me, if you aren't getting paid to talk about FNAF, or aren't trying to make a career by talking about FNAF and its convoluted what-if story timeline, don't bother. It can be fun to speculate, but don't invest a lot of time and energy into it because it will honestly have no benefits. Spend that time playing games with yourself or with your friends. Hell, even make like a D&D campaign based on FNAF. I mean, like, I was thinking about doing something like that for my own channel, but you could just use it as a way to have fun with the people who share your passion. But don't worry about the timeline though, okay? Trust me, all it brings is pain. And at 6, panicking. Panicking when playing a FNAF game is bound to happen. It's happened to me the first time I played, and it happened to me the first time I played FNAF VR on the channel. What a video. However, what you really need to focus on is staying cool and calm and collected. Remembering that the animatronics can't actually hurt you and that panicking is only going to result in what you fear actually happening. If you're freaking out because you can't find Bonnie, you're not going to find Bonnie. especially because he might be like in the back in like a shadow or something really hard to see, and you're just flipping through trying to find him. Plus, panicking results in you closing doors to make sure that you don't get jump scared, and then that only makes you lose power faster, which ends up resulting in you getting jump scared because you're in pitch black. Panicking is the worst thing that you can do in any real horror scenario, so why would you do the same thing in a fake horror scenario unless you needed to do so for plot reasons, like you're in a movie? Exactly. So chill the F out, okay, and honk Freddy's nose a couple times to calm your nerves. Halfway through in at number 5, looking behind you. In FNAF VR, you have a whole range of motion for yourself. You can turn your head wherever you want, whenever you want, you can move up and down as you please, but honestly, none of that is going to do anything for you. Hiding underneath the desk, like what would be realistic for this scenario, is only going to result in you getting jump scared, because the game only relies on the buttons you're pressing and the locations of the animatronics for information, rather than the location of the actual player. Plus, nothing ever really interesting is behind you, so looking behind you while you're in the middle of Night 5 of FNAF 3 isn't really going to help anyone other than Springtrap, so clear your mind, focus, and get me those pictures of Spider-Man! But no, honestly, don't waste your time looking behind you. You could end up missing vital information, like someone going into a vent, or someone now being at your door. Just keep your eyes on where the action can be and focus on what is actually going on, rather than looking for Easter eggs. Easter eggs are usually within that area anyway, aside from maybe helping in FNAF 2's filing cabinets, but still. In at 4, thinking logically. The FNAF world doesn't contain logic. I've said this once and I'll say it a million times. I will die on this hill every single time. The logical answer when it comes to what's going on in the FNAF universe is usually the incorrect answer. The doors should close without power. Incorrect. The animatronics shouldn't actually be able to be possessed, especially by an emotion. Incorrect. The freaking door shouldn't be able to close without power. Incorrect. The only thing that really makes sense is how the light works. Just, that's it. Other than that, you just throw everything you know out the window. If you don't end up thinking logically, you'll be fine. Oh, this would be the most likely moment to attack? Nope, they'll do it when you're most aware. But now that you're thinking that a logical thinking is logical, it suddenly becomes illogical. It's an infinite loop and a paradox. That's what FNAF really is, a lie. One big lie that will never be solved. But you keep clicking on these damn videos, so I'll continue to talk about it. Can you see how this video is starting to break me? Getting close to the end, in at number 3, not listening. Sound is such a vital part of FNAF. So many different aspects of the game actually rely on sound, especially in FNAF 4, 5, and 6. FNAF 4 requires you to listen to the doors before opening them to know what side they're coming down. In FNAF 5, you needed to know where Ballora is and where Funtime Foxy is in their respective areas. And in FNAF 6, you need to listen for the scrapped animatronics to make sure that you don't get jump scared while you're busy working on getting that sweet, sweet lore, bro. But ignoring the sound will result in ultimate failure. I used to play the game without sound. The game would actually be physically muted because I was playing it on the school bus or in class for research, something like that. And yes, it was actual research because one of my projects in grade 9 was based on FNAF. Either way, not having sound certainly makes the game not scary, but it also makes the game much more difficult because I couldn't even hear if Chica was in the kitchen. So I'd have that door closed a lot more than normal just because I was trying to find Chica, which would also result in me running out of power. Look, I wasn't a risk taker at the time, in FNAF, life, or with girls, but now I am a risk taker in FNAF. But ultimately, in at number 2, too much door. Going along with the whole not listening thing, using your doors too much will result in death every single time, even if the doors make no goddamn sense. The doors use the absolute most power in the original FNAF, making you run down very quickly, around 1% every 5 seconds or so, at least from memory. And using it in combination with other things like the lights or the cameras only makes it worse. Much worse, in fact. Especially if you're using everything at once, which is just stupid. The doors should only be used when the characters are at your blind spots, which makes the game very risky since they can at points skip that spot if you're on the cameras. So if you adopt the strat of using the lights before checking the camera, you could be in for a save. However, there's a lot more to factor in rather than just those individuals. The Freddy Files doesn't even really help with this kind of thing. I mean, maybe I should make a video called playing FNAF the way Scott Cawthon intended or something, and see how far I can get just based on the strategies from the Freddy Files Updated Edition. But then again, like I said, I'm not a risk taker. Wait, no, I said I am a risk taker now. Damn it! Finally, in at number 1, playing. Probably the biggest mistake that you can make in FNAF history, and the one I tend to try and avoid, is actually playing the game. Just think about it. If you don't play FNAF, then you don't have to worry about the jump scares or the stress at all, or hell, even the timeline. You can just sit there and watch other people scream on your behalf. And isn't that everyone's dream? And it's not even just like a dream theory, it's just a dream. It's probably the biggest mistake you can make, and it's just because you decided to boot up the game. I've only played FNAF VR a handful of times, and while I do still suffer at the hands of Freddy Fazbear and Scott Cawthon, that's not due to me playing the game. That's because of you people and your unwillingness to click on literally any other kind of video we release. Like, I'm joking, but I'm also not joking. So like, can you for God's sakes just click on some of the Minecraft videos for once? Or like, if we play something else, like that new open world horror spider train fighting simulator or whatever it is, could you watch that one too? Cause like, I've been wanting to play that. It's exhausting talking about FNAF every day, man. Like, I love the series, don't get me wrong, but every day? Especially with people yelling at me because I suggest that like Crying Child is the one that you should not have killed, and that's not what NatPad says. Like, bro, we've made over 300 FNAF videos at this point. While we may not have as many subscribers as the big FNAF channels, I think we have at least as much knowledge, okay? We have talked about around 3,000 FNAF related points. Assuming those were all top 10s. I mean, they weren't, but like, we've talked about roughly 3,000 FNAF related points. I think that you can cut me a little slack here. Do you want me to play that like that spider train fighting simulator game, horror, whatever it is? Do you want me to play it? Let me know in the comments. And actually, I don't know if I want you to say yes or not, so let's just leave it up to you. There we have it, friends, the top 10 worst FNAF mistakes you could ever make. What are the worst mistakes you've made while playing FNAF? And don't include actually playing, because that's kind of obvious. Be sure to let me know down below. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been Showerman Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.